Good morning. Welcome to the Innovation Test Track. To echo Ron's comments, the automotive industry is chock full of different ideas, jobs, and opportunities, and specifically in the Southeast, it's rich with those opportunities. I'm a little bit different of an example of that. I come from an operations background, but my experience started in uniform services as a United States Marine. Leveraging that experience, I entered a world of finance and operated in a lot of different financial opportunities: venture capital, family office, trust, which ultimately led me to what I do today in the investment banking field. I'm a principal with a transaction advisory firm based in Nashville called Second Generation Capital, and our focus is on medium to small, privately held or publicly run organizations. In the Southeast, the primary focus of Automotive is to look at opportunities to build and sustain an ecosystem that allows the automotive industry to strive, to grow, and to compete globally for opportunities that land ultimately in the local community. In recent years, we've worked with the automotive associations in the Southeast to consider the development of a regionally focused fund. That fund would look at the existing infrastructure of companies and provide an investment vehicle which either allows them to grow or to consolidate resources that meet the demands and the quality standards for the OEMs. The idea behind that fund is not only to sustain the region, but to provide an offshoot opportunity for the automotive associations themselves. The idea is that given a return on investment in the region, some of those proceeds that come back to the fund would go to offset operational costs at the Automotive Manufacturing Association level and allow them to provide additional services to its member base. Those can be as simple as sourcing products, consolidating logistics considerations, or the redevelopment of capital into workforce development. So as we kick off the Innovation Fund, we want you to be conscious of the opportunity at hand. I think that the companies that you see are all well adept at providing the kinds of technology we would expect from something that is automotive focused. I can say on a personal note that I've had personal experiences with all of these companies, and they have the right ingredients for success. So with that, I'm going to introduce Dr. Dan Daly with the University of Alabama. Dr. Daly has a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry and Psychology from Florida State University, and he's got a PhD in Physical Chemistry from the University of Florida. Dan's work at the innovation level starts at the grassroots, starts at the university level where the best ideas are being brought forward and cultivated in a place tied to industry that gives them the best chance to grow and sustain themselves over a long period of time. With that, I'll turn the mic over to Dr. Dan Daly to talk about the Automotive and Aerospace Accelerator. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Rusty. So as Rusty mentioned, I'm the director of the Alabama Innovation and Mentoring of Entrepreneur Center at the University of Alabama under the Office of Research for Economic Development. And one thing I wanted to bring forth is that I have experience in the automotive sector. I was the chief chemist for the development of System 3 and new and improved System 3 for Texaco. And then I went to Lubrizol, where I was the strategic technology manager for fuels for 12 years. And so I have some experience, especially in the testing of emissions and combustion. And but the one experience that I would like to call upon is when I was developing these fuels, a lot of vendors would come in for me to explore and use their materials and their technology. And they would range from personal testimonies like, I put it in my grandmother's car and it ran perfectly. Well, as we know, it's best to know that grandmothers aren't the best judge, and they're going to like it whatever the grandsons give them. But then some of the vendors were able to communicate and give data so that I was able to look at the data and be able to de-risk the investment. So I'm going to go back and refer to that experience a little bit. But one thing I wanted to talk about is, so we are launching this automotive and aerospace accelerator. And we're doing that because of a study that we did. So at AIM, which is the place I work, we are an I-Corp site and an I-Corp node. And in that experience, we're supposed to talk to customers during the customer development stage, and we're to explore what are the real pains in the marketplace. And so as a trial, I looked at the aerospace and the automotive sectors, and we did just that. We called up and talked to over 100 companies in this space. And it was amazing, the resounding call for help or the pain was that it seems to be that most of the suppliers are stressed out in keeping up with the supply, and that they're doing very little business development, doing almost zero customer development or even advertising. They're solely committed to supply. And we saw that as a potentially fragile business environment where any disruption in the supply chain could actually cause these companies to go out of business and lose jobs. So with that, and from our training at the I-Corp, we decided to launch two initiatives. The first initiative would be to set up an open innovation network in which the larger companies or the engine manufacturers could post their area of interest they would like work done. And then what we would do is we would take those requests and submit those to the group of over 100 companies that would form a solving network. And this network would submit proposals back to the accelerator, and then and this will be all done anonymously initially, but when we send the proposals, which we may alter and or fix by combining a couple companies to strengthen those proposals, when we send that back to the submitter or the engine manufacturer, what we would do is then the identity of the engine manufacturer would be made known. And then we're anticipating that the engine manufacturer would pay for the work to be done to solve that. So we're hoping that with a network of over 100 companies and the potential for a new business line, that would strengthen and form connectivity between the suppliers and the engine manufacturers. Also, since it's near and dear to our heart are the startups, and obviously if the suppliers that are existing companies in the automotive and aerospace sectors are having trouble, you can imagine the startup is going to really experience a lot of difficulties. So going back to that experience I had at Lubrizol, what we do is we bring these companies in and we train them through the Lean Launchpad and customer discovery, so they will have talked to their customers and they'll have vet their idea for their business. But also we form prototypes, or the buzzword in the I-Corp thing is minimal viable products, where they can take those and show those to potential partners. And by doing that, we're hoping that we would de-risk the investment into those startups so that they would lower their barrier. All right, so those are going to be the two main functions of the accelerator. One would be the open innovation network, and the other would be the training for the startup companies in the formation of prototypes and sending them to industrial workshops and trade shows, very similar to the Innovation Zone here, where they got to display their goods to potential industrial partners. All right, so we are going to go throughout the state of Alabama and have introductory meetings. In fact, our first one is going to be Wednesday, October 11th in Huntsville at the Jackson Center. We're doing this with partnership with Alabama A&M. And we know for sure that a lot of the aerospace companies have expressed a strong desire to come there. And if you wish to go there, just let me know and I'll send you an invite, or you can just show up at the Jackson Center at 8:30. And we are giving lunch away, so it will be a free lunch. All right, so that's all I had to say. I just want to thank Ron Davis and the AMA for inviting us to give this. Actually, this next coming event, the Innovation Test Track, was an idea that we generated during one of our meetings. And I would like to thank Steve Sewell for helping us to recruit the judges. And with that, I would like to introduce Steve. So Steve has worked and serves as the Executive Vice President for the EDPA, or the Economic Development Partnership of Alabama, for 23 years. So I think they must have recruited Steve right out of grammar school, since he's so young. And Steve's, so EDPA has really served as a catalyst between business and the industries that they brought into the state. So they have been very helpful for the state of Alabama. And Steve also has been on the board of directors for AMA. So with that, I'd like to introduce Steve Sewell.
Well, good morning. Our judges are going to take their places here. We're coming down the home stretch now for the conference, and those of you who have remained here are going to be rewarded, because this is something that we're extremely excited about. We've put a lot of time and effort into the planning, and I'll be quick to say that despite whatever Dan, I couldn't hear everything, but whatever he tried to do to make me seem qualified, I bring very little in the way of expertise to this particular session, but I do bring a lot of enthusiasm because I think this is one of the best things that we've done with the Southern Automotive Conference over its 10-year history, and it's long overdue to highlight innovation in the automotive industry. And we're looking forward to what is going to be a really special program today, and also a lot of fun, and we're going to have some fun with it. And while I don't bring much in the way of qualifications, joining me on stage today are 4 individuals who certainly do, who are well qualified. And as you'll hear in just a moment, as I share a little bit of background about each individual and their careers and their current positions, they're all busy people, so we're grateful to them for responding to our request to help us out today. It's an awesome responsibility to listen to all of the pitches from all of the teams, to go deliberate and come back with a decision in only a few minutes. And they've accepted that challenge, and it should be a lot of fun. So if you will, allow me just to share a little bit of information about each of our judges today, starting with Lakey Boyd, who is becoming well known in the Birmingham area because she's been part of a dynamic effort called Innovate Birmingham. She's Director of Operations there. She also is partner in Hotspot Ventures, a technology-based economic development firm that provides advisory services and assistance in building out venture capital funds. Lakey spent much of her career in technology-based economic development, working in particular on projects in communities, numerous projects in some 50 communities throughout the United States. And she's been directly involved in efforts to support entrepreneurs and startups. So she brings expertise today that is really important to this effort. And as I mentioned, she's become a leader in the Birmingham community already, and in fact was recognized by the Birmingham Business Journal just this year as one of their women to watch. So we're delighted to have Lakey with us today, to my right here. To my left, Inga von Seelen with Mercedes-Benz US International. Inga is also a very busy person. She is Vice President of Product Group NAFTA Hub USA for Mercedes-Benz. In that role, she directs a team that's responsible for parts localization, research and development, purchasing, material engineering, as well as supplier quality and capacity management. So she has a lot on her plate when she wakes up every day and when she goes to sleep every night. And each time I see her, she seems to be working whether it's a weekend or during the weekday. So we're grateful to her for taking time to be with us today. Inga actually started her career with another very large German automotive company that we all know well, Continental AG, one of the largest automotive suppliers in the world in Hanover, Germany. And then she joined Daimler, the parent company for Mercedes, of course, in 2008, where she held various purchasing positions with increasing responsibility. And in 2014 was promoted to department leader for the vehicle line management and supplier quality of the GLK, C-Class, E-Class, and S-Class before she came to MBUSI to start up the NAFTA hub there. Kim Williams, seated next to Inga. She, in 2015, had the distinction of being named by Automotive News, the Bible in the automotive industry, as one of its leading 100 women in the automotive industry. And why not? She has a 23-year career in automotive manufacturing that includes leadership roles at GM, Calsonic, Kansai, and Tenneco. And in fact, she was the first female plant manager for global Japanese manufacturer Calsonic Kansai, and went on to become the first female vice president of manufacturing there. And I think all of us who've been involved in Southern Automotive Conference know that she has a real passion for diversity and mentoring women, and has had leadership roles in the Southern Women's Automotive Manufacturer. She's also an adjunct with her alma mater, Tennessee Tech, where she teaches related course content such as Six Sigma. And then finally, with us is John Fuller from Honda Manufacturing of Alabama. John is bearing down on a 30-year career, I guess, at Honda. So he also started, I guess, when he was 15 or 16 years old as well. So he started there after earning a BS degree in mechanical engineering from Purdue University. John worked in Marysville, Ohio, before coming to Alabama with the startup of the plant, as we say, before the beginning, back in 1999, right after the announcement. And shortly after the plant started production, a couple of years later, he was tapped to be division manager of the new model division, where he held the position of large project leader for the 2005 Odyssey, and then later for the 2009 Honda Pilot. In 2009, he was assigned as the division manager of the quality division and responsible for overseeing the factory's production and market quality operations. And then in 2014, he returned to the new model department, where he was assigned the role of large project leader for the 2017 Ridgeline, which later earned the distinction of Motor Trend's Truck of the Year. So we're delighted to have John and Lakey and Inga and Kim with us today to serve as our judges. They will, after each pitch, you'll be hearing directly from them. They'll be asking questions of our teams. And then, as we said, following the 4 pitches that we have today, they'll deliberate and come back and give us their final decision. So with that, we'll get started today with the fun part. And our first team comes to us from France via Elkmont, Alabama, I guess. The French company EF5, which well known in Alabama because of their operation up in Elkmont, Alabama, where they produce electronic components. So with that, we'll welcome EFI to the stage to make their presentation. Please welcome them.
Okay. Okay. So good morning, everybody. My name is Jean-Baptiste Yvon. I'm a Vice President of FI Automotive and General Manager of FI Lighting. I will present innovate product, you see, which is a textile. We distribute the light on the textile with one LED, so it's really a cost-effective solution that could be used for automotive lighting. So I will explain how we use it for our application. We have two types of application: ambiance lighting, comfort, or safety for ADAS vehicles. The market has been studied, analyzed, and we evaluate the market for the next 5 years at about $300 million. And the FI Lighting scheduled to have a market share of 10%. And the market growth is very high, it's about 35%. Our product is made so that with the same product, you could do ambience lighting in the car by changing the color, and you could use the same product for safety. So I will explain how we do it. You have some example of lighting interior car using our product, an example of lighting on the wheel or on the pillar for safety. We have two product lines. The first one is a flexible textile, where the advantage compared to plastic part, plastic PMMA is a light part, easy to integrate, large surfaces, homogeneity. And we also have a flexible light guide with a very light, good homogeneity over length to until 3 meters. The main point of the two products is we use one LED and we distribute the light everywhere with a good performances. So one advantage of this part is you have no toolings. You use the part in existing doors, existing equipment. You don't have to add toolings for that. And when you want to have some light options, you just have to insert the flexible textile in the part. So no tooling is very important. So the Waven technology uses PMMA optical fibers and a specific activation process. So for you to understand, the existing technology is use the light boxes. Light boxes is a plastic part with reflectors, and it injects the light in a space, in a transparent plastic part, and then you have a spacer and a trim. By using the latex, you could avoid this plastic part thickness and have a lighting surface without any additional thickness. It's the first point. The second point is the new doors, the new parts in automotive, by using trends of lightweight, they will use the NFPP technology. NFPP technology means this is black parts. You cannot use a light box for that. So the latex becomes the only technology to enlight the door when you have to use the NFPP technology. There are some examples of application that we have with door panel or with instrument panel lighting, but we also have headliner application, either with a textile or with the guide light. One advantage of surface lighting like textile is you could choose where you want to have a surface lighting. This is an example of car that we equip with a star-selling headliner. So only using 2 LEDs, we have 60 stars on the headliner. you could use the same textile technology on the pillar, either for ambient lighting on the night or for safety during the day. For GPS, you use the direction. So you could just use the light on the pillar to advise the driver that you have to turn left or to turn right. So it's an easy way to add some advertisement to the GPS direction. You could have ambient lighting for the night. You could use it as a safety with another color, with the red color, blinking color, to advise any obstacle or pedestrian, so that helps the driver to take care about the driving situation. The same product at the end could be used for enlightening the door handle. So with one product, one LED, you could imagine to enlighten the complete door in some places that you choose to enlighten. For the instrument panel, the latex could be used for safety. You see, the red color is to say, oh, take care, there is an obstacle. So you could use the light for ambient lighting or for safety. Same thing for console application. You just enlight a button that you have to take care for the driver. That is for interior lighting. We have application for exterior lighting. I show you some pictures that I took in Frankfurt Motor Show. I was in September with all the cars shown by the OEM where you have a light which is used for pedestrian, for ADAS vehicles, and so on. And the application here and the two applications here are use our product. We are working with plastic omnium for that, and this is a concept art that we show during the meeting. So for outside application, it could be used for front bumper signature, side seal signature, rear tailgate lighting, or front bumper lighting. This is my conclusion. We have customers, contract with first customer, we develop product with German customers, with tier one suppliers like Faurecia, Plastic Omnium. We work with premium customer in Germany, with BMW and with Volkswagen. And I would like to say in a conclusion that EFI Lighting offer new technology for interior ambient lighting, for cockpit application, for future ADAS application, but also for exterior lighting. We are localized in Alabama, in Elkmont, with EFI Automotive, where we have a R&D center and a production. And we have a booth there. You could see some application. And I'm very, very excited with this technology. And if you have any question, feel free to ask me the question. Thank you very much for your time. And excuse me for my French accent.
So one question that I have is in regards to obstructing the vision of the driver. What type of testing or data do you have that says that this type of lighting, especially at night, wouldn't obstruct their vision from a safety perspective?
You mean using the lighting for exterior?
Right.
Or interior?
No, the interior, if you have lights,
yeah.
You know, when you're driving at night, if someone turns on the inside light, sometimes it's very distracting.
I might ask the question.
Sure.
Answer the question. Basically, what actually.
Nizar will help me for the question.
I'm from Elkmont, Alabama, R&D center, by the way. So basically, this is an advantage for our product because the current product today on the market, they use almost 38 LED lights. Our product use only 2 to kind of eliminate 1 meter to 3 meters. So actually, it'll give you less density on light. So it's actually help you better. It's one of the pitch point that we're selling to our customers.
I was really interested in your application for safety, right? Using that not only integrated for the safety systems of the car, but also for maybe blind spot indicators, et cetera. But one of the questions I have is, for the door panel application where you're integrating the light fabric or the light into the fabric, what type of durability do we have?
So yes, a good question. It has been tested, so we work with tier one supplier. There are several processes to integrate it. So integration is a key point. And all the door, so we work with two main tier one suppliers on that, and that has been validated with all the cycles, durability, thermal shocks, UV lighting, and so on. So it has been validated today and ready for RFQs. But we have, it's confidential, so each tier one supplier is using a specific way of integrating our part.
Just in a short now, our product is automotive rated. Our product is automotive rated today. So.
One question from my side. We saw a lot of different products. Have you done any surveys with the customers and do a proposal? Which feature would is the most important for the customer?
So,
Yeah, okay.
so we have interior, mainly today, interior activities and the door panels. Because the flexibility of our product does not need any tooling, therefore they were very easy for them to kind of integrate a lighting pattern into current tooling today. So we have a contract with this kind of product. I'm not sure if we can share the name or not. But we also, for the Corvette cars, the tops, the soft one, as you pull it up, there's also our system also adapted to this one. So we have a contract on that one as well. So there is some activation that today only for interior design. As we're working on developing different activities from this technology, we're going to go to the safety and ADAS involvement basically.
So you touched on a question I have. You mentioned at the very beginning the market being 300 million, you were estimating 10%. So I live on the market side. I'm curious about what's really addressable within that market, and then I was curious about customer adoption. So it sounds like you do have some of those initial contracts, much more not on that safety side yet. So if you can just talk a little bit about that addressable market where you are now.
When we start the market analysis to decide to create this company, we made the analysis on ambient lighting only. And during the last 2 years, we see a lot of demand arriving with autonomous vehicles. And for that, I don't have numbers. I have some numbers, but not official numbers. So the numbers I gave to you are only for ambient lighting. But all the companies told us we would like to use the same for ADAS. But the power is not the same. We need much more power than the ambient lighting. So it's two different applications. But the way to use the same textile, the same product for the two is something that is, for me, a breakthrough. And we see that the customer demand is very high in that direction, to use the same product and to reduce the cost.
So our address market today is the luxury brands. And we see that potentially their usage, as at this progress, their usage in ADAS mainly e-mobility, card signature and everything. But that's, and we're talking about 10% from the luxury market. That's how we came up with this estimate.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, see how this works? I told you this was going to be fun and definitely different. So with that, after the presentation from EFI, we go into our next presenter who comes to us from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, with a technology out of the University of Alabama, and the startup is Graphenix.
Good morning. My name is Rachel Frazier, and I'm here to tell you about Graphenix today. It's an honor to be here. I'm going to wait for our presentation to pop up. There we go. This is us. And it's actually difficult to follow such a well-established company as EFI. So please bear with me as I introduce you to our emerging company. And basically, we are in the business of helping automotive suppliers develop breakthrough products. So you saw EFI also is talking about breakthrough products. I guess we're all doing breakthrough products. We're in the innovation zone, right? But the way we do this is by commercializing a new material. We're an advanced materials company, and the material that we're trying to introduce into the automotive market is called graphene. And we believe that graphene is going to eventually completely replace carbon fiber. It's a more affordable and sustainable option. So graphene was actually isolated in the early 2000s. It's a pretty new material. And it is carbon-based, like carbon fiber is carbon-based. However, it comes from the same material that you find in a pencil. Okay? And that's where the sustainability comes in. But really the most important thing is that graphene has some very interesting properties. It is electrically conductive. It's also very thermally conductive. You can make flexible materials using graphene. And also, it's one of the strongest materials known to man. And that's really what we're trying to take advantage of. The fact that it's one of the strongest materials known to man means that it can go into some very interesting products. Okay, so a lot of things that it's found in relate to sporting, watches, sporting goods, but it also has an opportunity in automotives, and that's our focus. Our business model revolves around co-development. So we work with our customers to actually incorporate graphene into their existing products and processes. And that's important because commercializing a new material is difficult, especially when suppliers don't have the experience working with a new material. But basically the value that we add is an improved performance in parts. Okay, we also help in co-creating intellectual property, which provides a competitive advantage in the industry. And we do a lot of the legwork to actually get the graphene into the product. That way there's an easy transition of the new material into the existing process. But we're a little bit different from other graphene companies on the market. So most of the production techniques actually cause graphene to have impurities and defects. And that leads to a reduction in the performance of your product. So we have a new technique, and we have a secret sauce that we use to actually make graphene in a way that does not introduce impurities and defects and provides optimal performance. So these are some of our key activities, okay? We do sales of graphene. We also do consulting. That's how we actually got started. Because this is a new material, people needed to understand it, so we started out consulting. But the bulk of what we do is in co-development. And this is where we work with our customers to introduce graphene into their products. And our customers include some of the largest plastics companies in the nation. We're a pretty small company. We're pretty young. But we have the team that can actually carry out what we do. So my business partner, Hunter Adams, is a patent attorney. And Hunter is responsible for filing the patents, for license negotiations. He's also great at networking and connecting us to potential leads. I have a PhD in material science and engineering. I'm responsible for technology development. I also am the person who interfaces with the customers to actually transition graphene into their products and processes. We're a spinoff of the University of Alabama. And that actually is very good for us because we get the best interns. Best interns in the state, some of the best interns in the Southeast. So here are a few of the interns that have really contributed to the success of our initial products. We also have an extensive network of advisors. Some of them include people in AMA, TAMA, and in the automotive companies. Okay, but where does graphene fit? So I've told you about graphene, I've told you about the company, I've told you about me. Where does it actually fit? Okay, so a couple of the key areas are energy production, for example, fuel cells, okay, to actually create electricity. Other areas are energy storage, batteries. Graphene has a very high surface area. It's great for electrodes for batteries. But really what we focus on is energy efficiency in transportation. And like I said before, graphene offers an affordable and sustainable substitute for carbon fiber. So really the key areas, aerospace and defense. I'm sorry that is a little bit squished together on the screen. But aerospace, defense, automotive, and industrial are very lucrative opportunities and areas that graphene is going to emerge in the near future. And we focus on providing the automotive industry and industrial coating industry, thank you, an affordable and sustainable carbon fiber substitute. Really, automotive is driven by, in terms of where graphene can fit in, automotive is driven by reducing weight, lightweighting, right? So what we do is, graphene is a filler. And graphene can go into plastic parts and provide lightweighting if you replace metals with the plastics. I'm sure everybody in the room knows all about that. You can definitely speak to that. But it is much more affordable than carbon fiber. So it also takes a long time to develop a new material, which I'm sure most people in the room are aware of. But this is something that we try and ease for our customers. So basically, some of the things that we've done, if you take a look at the Chevy Camaro over there, that is a University of Alabama student team that is competing in a Department of Energy and GM competition. And we helped develop the hood. We approached the team and said, hey, we want to make a part. We want to try and lightweight your Camaro. They put batteries in the Camaro, so of course we had to offset some of that. But anyways, that is one thing that we did. We worked on this with a senior design team of mechanical engineering students, and they were fantastic. And we actually found that the graphene helped improve the performance of the hood. So where we've been, I need to tell real quick the story. Ron Davis connected us to the Auto Accelerator in 2013, and that really opened up the doors for us. It also gave us a very small investment from Relevance Capital, and that helped us actually get in the door to our first customers. Recently, we were highlighted in R&D Magazine for the hood, and really what I want you to take away from this presentation today is that graphene can revolutionize plastic parts in the automotive industry. And co-development is what we found to be a successful model. Thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate the opportunity. A special thanks to Lindsay for coordinating all of us.
I have the first question. I saw a lot of advantages, that means cost and weight. But if we would launch a product within our plant at Mercedes, we need to have a serious production. So that means which simulations have been done already, how to implement the new material really then in a serious and mass production.
Yes, and that's why it takes so long to develop the new material. Where we're at right now is we've done some introductory, basically proof of concept parts with our customers. The next stage would be the pilot stage, where we would really scale up. But the beauty of what we're trying to do is, okay, so most people are used to working with a material called carbon black. And graphene is going to scale more like carbon black. So it's going to, the production itself of the graphene is going to make it so that it's handleable, sorry for making that word up, but handleable just like carbon black. Now, scaling up to full production is going to be a next step for us. That's not something that we currently do now. When we sell graphene, we do sell in bulk. I don't know, did that answer? Did that help? Okay, thank you.
So I'm going to ask a similar question, because I'm always on the market. To understand financing, I need to understand who your customer is, right? So I think you outlined who it is, but I don't understand market depth. So give me a sense of who you think you're going to do those pilots with first, and how much revenue you can generate in a shorter runway. That makes sense.
Okay, so that's actually a really good question. And what we've found is that, so we've worked with injection molders, okay, and they make exterior trim pieces for automotives. We've worked with chemical companies, okay, who make up basically literally chemical that goes into almost every consumer product, including automobiles. And what the scale up would look like is, and the financial side of it, is we would create more like a franchise model. So we do custom recipe development for each of our individual customers. They have different needs. They have different ways that they make money and different margins that they have to keep pretty tight. So when we demonstrate that the graphene improves their product, what we work to try and do is, and the graphene is going to be slightly more expensive at this stage than carbon black. But as we scale up, they're not going to see an increase in costs, they're going to see a decrease. And what we try to do is create something that will plug into their existing process. We try not to disrupt the process. But the financial side of it is just value sharing, profit sharing. So they make more money off of what they sell, and we take a percentage of that.
So when you've been working with the plastics injection molding companies, what type of performance are they getting? Is it their run rates? Do they expect them to be the same as the current plastics injection molding or the fiberglass reinforced resins?
Yes, so they haven't seen too much of a difference in the actual production part of it. Now, they're not working on their huge industrial equipment. They're running off of their pilot equipment. But they haven't seen very much difference in any of the variables to actually produce the parts. Where they see a difference is in the performance of the parts. And it's actually very interesting because there is some improvement in the strength of the parts, but then also there is an improvement in when you try and strengthen a plastic, typically you embrittle it, which means it shatters or it catastrophically fails. But with the exterior trim company, what we found is that their parts failed more consistently. Okay, so we actually added some ductility to their parts and made it so that they didn't just break unexpectedly.
From an environmental hazard standpoint, how does this compare to the carbon fiber that you're competing against?
Yes, that is a very good question. So from an environmental standpoint, and that's actually one of the biggest concerns customers have. You know, of course, if they introduce something into their plant, they don't want to expose their workers. In all honesty, graphene is very new. It has not been tested. I would say, what I always tell customers is that, well, we package it up so that they don't have any dust, right? So they don't expose. We tell them to treat it, you know, just go ahead and treat it as like it's going to be hazardous. But in terms of stability, it's not hazardous. You know, it's not going to spontaneously combust. Compared to carbon fiber, it's a powder. So it's more like carbon black. So there are possible concerns there. And I think honestly that those things will shake out as it goes into more and more production facilities. But it's a very new material. So. Thank you very much.
Okay, 2 excellent pitches to get us started. We're halfway there, 2 more to go. And our next startup comes from Nashville, Tennessee. Please welcome Hitch.
Hello, everybody. We're excited to be here at the Southern Automotive Conference. We are using this opportunity to inspire and motivate you to join us on a really big mission, a really big idea. And what's fun about big ideas is that sometimes they're just obvious. And when it happens and it occurs to you, you say, wow, that was obvious. But it's never obvious until it is. And we want to bring you along with our company, Hitch. My name is Mark Cleveland. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Hitch. And I'm going to introduce to you today members of my team who are working together on a mission to defeat traffic, defend clean air, do it with technology and incentives. So I arrive on this stage with some accolades and awards given to me but earned by my team. The smartest people on your team are usually the ones you point to next. And the guys with the clickers that advance the slideshow.
just
It's
as he
the
was getting
green
ready to
button.
say how smart I was.
So by way of Vanderbilt and Oxford and Dartmouth, a man with a lion's heart for a mission that matters, my business partner and our president, Stephen Berman.
Thank you, guys. Thank you,
There
Mark.
you go.
We all love our cars, but nobody loves traffic, right? In fact, if there's anything we all agree on, it's that traffic sucks. And mounting congestion and air quality concerns is the reason that cities everywhere are investing tremendous dollars in alternative transit infrastructure. But it's not just about infrastructural investment. That's not going to get us there fast enough, right? We need to change behavior. And that's what Hitch is all about. We're saying that, hey, we all agree that sustainability is the future, right? So how do we bring sustainability and mobility together and work together to solve these challenges? Well, our approach is focusing on rewards. We're focusing on what moves people. And we all know that incentives and rewards move people. Who here has a dog or has ever trained a puppy? Anyone ever trained a puppy? Okay, well, I have 2 dogs under the age of 2 years old. And I don't like spanking a dog. It's never fun. Negative reinforcement is never fun. But when you find an animal going to the bathroom in the right place and you click and you give them a treat, they start going to the bathroom in the right place. It's a bit of a stretch, but the point is we're trying to imprint on people's minds through incentives that when you perform behavior that's positive, it's good for everybody, you get rewarded. And our concept is as simple as anytime 2 or more people are in a vehicle, track your ride and get rewarded. We're going to show you a brief video, a fun little explainer here. It takes about a minute.
We've all probably experienced this. So Hitch has built the world's first universal platform for rewarding people who share rides, creating the behavior that makes your industry even more successful. There is a mass transit system out there. It's those 4 seats in every vehicle that you create.
It's as simple as sending a text message. You say, let's hitch. You send the message to whoever it is that you're riding with. They accept. Your ride is now being tracked. We know based on proximity and movement that you actually are in a shared ride. You rack up points, and every $10 you get to push that over to your bank account. That's Hitch Rewards in a nutshell.
So people often ask us, how do we fund it? It's pretty simple. Employee incentives, employee retention, employee reward programs. We have one 7,000 employee customer that's looking for creative ways to get their culture built and their people to arrive on time and their employees from greater distances to get together and share the ride to work. So employer incentives are a great spot to start. We have industry sponsors that want to connect their brand with that moment of reward and build the relationship at that celebration when somebody gets $10 and puts it in their PayPal account. We also believe that this industry can drive its carbon footprint to 0. We think that 2 people in a car is the strategy to win the hearts and minds of the industry and the next generation of consumers. And we also have experience with community grants where Tennessee Department of Transportation has provided us with incentives to provide your people with incentives. And we see that through congestion mitigation, air quality, and other forms of community grants as great ways to bring more people to events more people to a destination and fewer vehicles, and thereby everybody moves faster and mobility is improved. These are some of the logos of partners that have gotten behind us. They're community sponsors, they're employers, they're brands, they're people looking for creative ways to solve a congestion problem with service and with incentives, as opposed to penalties and negative behavior. Lipscomb is one of my favorite. The university has 8,500 faculty members, staff, and students, and 2,400 parking spaces. So they're very motivated to try to get people to carpool, share a ride to work. It's 3.8 billion miles of vehicles driven, typically one person in a car. That's sort of the marketplace of decision. 8% of that crowd is currently today sharing a ride, but nobody has any documentation and nobody knows. And we believe that we can create a world-class company and change the world if we can get 10% of the 8% of the people who are already doing it.
So our business model aligns what we do best, which is tracking and rewarding transit behavior. To the extent that we're rewarding consumers, we're taking a margin that funds our operation and funds our growth.
So we love to introduce the smartest guys in the room. From Daimler, Michael McHorse. From Tennessee Tech, our friend Tom Brewer. We have just today received news from Nissan that their connected vehicle services executive will join our advisor group, and Pierre from Schneider Electric, Dr. Craig Phillip from Vanderbilt, former CEO of Ingram Barge. These are transportation and industry experts that are aware of a very serious opportunity here and who want to be a part of it. We've got some traction. That traction includes already having released an app, already having developed 4,000 users in our matching engine. We've received CMAQ grants. We're the only privately held company to ever receive a CMAQ grant in the state of Tennessee. We were given an award, again earned by the team, as Innovator of the Year for the Metropolitan Planning Organization in Nashville. University sponsorships have fallen our way, and we're about to launch in 3 weeks, and we'd love to have you be a part of it, the world's first reward platform to encourage people to share a ride. If you have any questions, now would be your opportunity.
All right, well, as an auto manufacturer, I'm glad you recognize that it's not the product that's causing the traffic, it's the people in the product that are causing the traffic problems. But do you have any thoughts about partnering with the OEMs and try to integrating some of the technology or feedback into the actual products that we manufacture?
Yeah, I don't think cars get frustrated, people do, right? And you are creating a tracking mechanism and a mobility mechanism, and an important part of our economic success is mobility. And we're trying to remind people that it's a social experience to be in a car and reduce road rage and perhaps even, and I love the idea, we obviously are talking to Daimler and Nissan, and we'd love to talk to Honda about grabbing some of that behavioral data and integrating it into our ability to perhaps offer safety ratings to drivers. We do know who the driver is, we do know who the passenger is, and we are rewarding both.
There are a lot of miles programs and apps already available. What is your strategy to advertise your app that the people are using your product?
Yeah, we'll take it. One of the things that's really great about Hitch is that our partners are also our distribution. So we're partnered, for instance, with 5 universities, and right now I think close to 10 corporate partners just in Middle Tennessee. All of them are the distribution mechanism to onboard and bring in individuals to introduce to individuals. So while we do think a lot about how we're going to roll out and market Hitch, we're putting a lot of attention into our brand and how we come across. We think of ourselves as the Santa Claus of transit. We want that message to get out there, but we're also happy that we can focus on our partnerships as a means of growing audience.
But I think another answer to your question is that we built and designed the platform with open APIs so that anybody that has a user interface and a brand experience that they want to protect would integrate with Hitch reward systems so that the cash incentive program it has an opportunity to be branded by itself. We'd love to have Mercedes apps talking to us about that.
So from the market side, I've dealt with TDM before, and one of the places that it often has broken down historically, right, is in the carpool element. So I can see how you're getting the employers on board, universities, particularly with the density of students, makes a lot of sense. Customers are in the right place. So the ability to have a geographic dispersal, particularly in the suburbs, all going to the one place. So how they connect to get started in the one place. And then the story is always, how do I get home if something happens during the day, if I have an emergency with my child? So from the user side.
Yeah, I've been doing this now for a year and a half, and transportation demand management planners look at a set group of employees and try to do a heat map and try to overlay it. And I sat with the CEO of Tractor Supply, who threw his hand down on the desk when that same conversation came up, and they said, can we just restrict this to our employees? He said, the reason these things don't work is because we restrict it to our employees. I want the Comdata employee that lives in Murfreesboro to bring the Tractor Supply employee to the same area, and I'm going to pay them both a penny a mile for sharing a ride. Ultimately, nobody has ever put a tracking and rewarding tool in place that recognizes mass transit movements and carpooling movements and rewards both passenger and driver. No one's ever done it. So most transportation demand management systems don't have the metric. They don't have the tool to be successful in the first place.
Maybe a strange question, but it's in my mind. From what type of studies have you done on, you know, the social aspect of this and that will drive people to want to ride with the stranger?
I think the fair thing is that Stephen and I have tried to describe to you an app on my phone that interfaces with all my contacts, and every time I take a shared ride, I invite somebody I know. So I'm starting with reinforcing behaviors with everybody I'm already comfortable with. The app then takes a look over time at who might be a good match for you, and that's one method. You have seen in your own industry the changing attitudes of new buyers in new markets, and everybody's trying to interpret that. We want to motivate it and incentivize it toward shared rides.
The one thing I would add is that, you know, our vehicles have more than one seat, right? When you look to the right, there's a beautiful seat next to you, and there's seats in the back, and that's for a reason. That's because we do ride together. In fact, it's usually better when we ride together. And so what we're saying is that anytime you're riding together, let's reinforce that behavior. Let's encourage it. So our market is not the person who thinks of themselves as carpooler. Our market is the people that drive in cars that have more than one seat.
By the way, Uber and Lyft have done all of our work for us. They send a perfect stranger to pick you up today, and everybody seems to be comfortable with it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, we've seen great diversity in the technologies and the innovations, and now we're at the point where we'll hear from our final presenter, and that is IVR Train from Cookeville, Tennessee.
Well, good morning. Glad to be here. So I'm Jeff Brown, one of the founders of IVR Train. My partners in the audience here and our lead developers. So we are doing virtual and augmented reality to help with training and manufacturing. Basically simulators. So aircraft simulators, whoa. Anybody back there on the AR machine? They're getting me. So this all started from the generation of gamers that are excellent gamers. So if a 15-year-old can teach himself to be excellent at killing zombies, why can't we take a 20-year-old and make them excellent at building cars, right? Or excellent at driving forklifts, or excellent at whatever. It's kind of gaming brought down to the attitude of training for manufacturing. So years ago, we were working with the auto accelerator. And so we met with a lot of auto people, and what we heard from every single tier 1, OEM, tier 2, didn't matter. So they talked about technology and gadgets and inventions differently. Every single one of them said, our biggest problem is people, employees. So how do we match technology with that? So one of the things we found is that we heard this over and over and over. We have recruiting problems. We can't retain them from that first day of work a lot of times. How do we appeal to the tech-savvy generation? And how do we cross-train, right? So people go on vacation, they're out sick. How do we train quickly people to work these different work cells? So how do we do that? So part of, and then how do we get these displaced workers that have never dealt with technology? You know, they're coming from a kind of a low-skill plant that closed down. How do we put them into a modern OEM and get them used to the technology and all those things? So as we looked at this, training hasn't changed in 50 years. How many of you get excited that we're going to training room A to sit at these? I think my slides are running on their own at this point. So the training room A, you get to spend all day there doing training with a chalkboard and death by PowerPoint. Does everybody get really excited? All your employees get really excited about that? So yeah, that's happening. Yeah, it's running on its own now. So how do we, some of the problems we saw in the process is how do we screen workers? How do we put the right person in the right job that we don't have to decide after we started? Okay, it's totally running wild back there, guys, if you could turn the timing off. So, okay, we'll skip the PowerPoint. So, imagine the way we currently train workers. Alabama will line up, you know, we're in college football. You know, college football in the South is a religion. So tomorrow, Alabama will line up against Texas A&M. So let's imagine that practice this week went something like this. We're gonna sit at 6-foot training tables all week with the playbook and manuals, a whiteboard, and some chalk, right? No practice on the field, nothing experiential. Oh, and by the way, you're starting, and quality check, you can't have any interceptions and you can't have any fumbles. But you're not going to practice live on the field at any point before the game starts. Yeah, they're running wild. So, how do we address that with modern virtual reality? So, people, virtual reality, the definition basically, yeah, quit watching my slides, basically is how do we create an environment that's real enough that the user kind of detaches with reality and walks into that room, right? And we can do that. We don't have to put them live on a manufacturing floor. We don't have to do any of those kind of things. We can simulate. Aircraft simulators have been around for years. The problem is most of those are a couple of $1 million and up. We don't think any of you guys want to spend a couple of $1 million on training people on forklifts. If you do, please call us now. So one of the big points here is how do we get people to retain learning, right? Retention rates. So the first study using immersive VR just came out about 3 months ago, the Mays Institute. So this is about 700 people using immersive virtual reality to train. So retainage of knowledge and how the education is delivered, 5% in lecture. That's after 30 days, that's how much they're going to retain. Reading goes to a whopping 10%. AV, death by PowerPoint, videos, all those kind of things, it jumps to 20%. This study shows that currently immersive virtual reality, about 78% after 30 days. So huge jump, and they're retaining what you're training on, not just attending. Now maybe this will work. So imagine simulators that could screen new employees for the right job. Oh, they're bad at this, but we did this simulator and they were good at that and they liked it. And then there's also this problem, oop, there it goes again. How do we optimize ergonomic sequencing, layouts, all those kind of things? We can simulate that in virtual reality, that you don't have to actually build the line and put workers out there. We can simulate that real time, give you all the feedback metrics. How do we teach concepts? Concepts are a thing that's hard to teach, right? So what's the best way to teach a concept? They got to be able to understand the cause and effect of the application of the concept. Immersive virtual reality, it fails them, right? I mean, you see it automatically. So it's not this ephemeral idea of quality or lean or all those things. These concepts can be taught with a game. The other cool thing we see, if you saw our forklift simulator here during the show, people get so competitive, right? So we had a couple people about tear our steering wheel off. I mean, they're getting into it. So that's another great thing about training is they get competitive with each other. If you've got 3 people there doing it, which really we see our success rate go up dramatically when they get competitive with each other. So some pretty cool stuff. So this is a video, short video of our forklift trainer running. If you didn't see it, this is giving you a bit of a 2D view of what you'll see in virtual reality. And of course, we have young programmers that want to make it really bloody when you turn over and all that stuff. So if you want that, we can do that for you. We've kind of held back on that. So we can simulate about any situation you want us to simulate. Work cells, forklift, what do you want to do? Where are the critical areas? You don't want to do this with every step in your plant. It'll be too expensive. But where are your critical timing, quality, training issues? Where are those? So one of the things we want these audiences to think about is what other opportunities could we do with this? Safety, factory layout from an engineering standpoint, quality training, high-skilled technical positions, that those skills have to be trained and updated probably 4 or 5 times a year. So that's the basis of what we're doing. The governor, I now got to send her a thank you card because I think I heard her say we've got to start using modern technology to train our workforce. Wow, I didn't meet her ahead of time and we didn't pay her for that, but we really appreciate that. So that was a good boost for us. So what could we simulate for you? Where I ever trained? Do you have questions, judges?
So Jeff, what data do you have that supports the cost or the investment into this type of training? Because obviously this is going to, require programming, hardware, et cetera, for a company to have this type of training. So what data says that cost is worth the benefit?
So the data is being built with our first deployments, right? Mm-hmm. What we're hearing is there's that onboarding process where you've spent several $1,000s with the HR process and some of your higher paid workers and training them and getting them on board, and then they don't come back from lunch. So if we can, have them run through that simulator for 4 hours and they understand that repetitive work and here's what you're really going to be doing, so the savings are huge if we can cut that retention loss. You guys have a term for it, I didn't realize, but the disappearing lunch or something where they don't come back. So can we help with that? Then there's also, here's some of the things we're trying to track is, again, that's usually some of your higher skilled, higher paid people that are doing the training. Well, with this, you can put them in there and let them train themselves for an hour, right? Your person's not tied up. And we actually had one young engineer said, can I put one of these in the break room and we'll set up a reward system if they cross-train themselves. We'll give them a Walmart gift certificate or something if they do an hour a month training on their own. I wish we'd have thought of that idea. It was brilliant, by the way.
So I very clearly understand the customer pain point. I understand the value proposition. Can you talk a little bit more about how you're getting this out into the market and kind of what your first target is in order to start that revenue cycle within the company?
So 2 things. We currently have the forklift simulator, which we are deploying in 2 or 3 businesses as we speak. So right now we've done it. I mean, we are truly a startup. So we are moving out of prototype into paying customers. So it's been the startup way. Our contacts coming to shows like this. One of the things we're doing a little bit on marketing is obviously the staffing firms would like to see this happen. This helps them, you and them. So we had a lot of questions over the last 3 months from those guys, and actually have 2 meetings next week with very large staffing agencies. So again, we're still figuring that out. And actually now we've had that big engineering request of how can I simulate the line before I build it. And so that's our customer acquisition right now, is through current training methods, the workforce development people, all those kind of things.
Do you have any ideas to establish like a maintenance program for that? For example, robot programming?
We could, right? So that's what we're still in that customer discovery phase. What's most important that we could simulate that you can use in a lot of places or all your locations? Working with ground transport in the aviation industry, so they're looking at aircraft marshaling, all those kind of things of what could we do once and they could deploy it through their entire company. And so we got to get those pain points from the customer. Because we don't want to assume we know what your pain point is. That's a recipe for failure for us, right?
And I really appreciate being able to see the video of the forklift operator. In fact, I enjoyed playing with that. But as an automotive company, we've got roughly 4,500 associates. Of that, probably 3,800 are direct doing processes, right? Mm-hmm. They're doing automotive processes, interacting with the vehicle, climbing into a 3D world. Is that possible? Or
Absolutely.
How would you begin to simulate actually climbing in and out of the body as it moves down the production line?
So we can do it, so there's virtual, and then like our forklift simulator, which is a combination of virtual and real, right? So it depends on what we're trying to get to. So if it's climbing in so they can look at something in the vehicle, so we can simulate that totally virtual, but it wouldn't be quite the same. So would we build something out of metal that is a door frame that opens and closes? So what we're trying to do is rapid deployment. We're assuming you don't want to spend $500,000 to do this because that work cell could go away 2 years from now. So any of those can be done honestly with really creative people. It's Legos, right? I mean, we kind of go with that theory of, wow, could we weld two pieces of metal together and it feel like a door when you have these goggles on? Anything else? Thank you all very much.
Okay, with that, 4 excellent presentations from individuals who obviously have a lot of energy, a lot of drive, and a lot of passion for their startups, and have obviously put a lot of time into the preparation for today's program. So again, let's give all of them a round of applause. Terrific job. Really appreciate their participation. And now, judges, wow. So I'm glad we have judges who are eminently qualified and who can use their powers of discernment to get to a decision, because that's not going to be easy. So we'll dismiss you now so you can go do your hard work, and then come back and join us in just a few minutes with your decision. Okay, thanks for your patience. We're back. The judges made a quick decision, not because it was an easy decision. In fact, there was robust discussion that I think could have gone on for hours about all of the teams, but they made a quick decision because we only gave them 5 minutes. So here we are with that decision. First of all, I'd like to invite each of our judges just to make a comment about all of the presentations and the session as a whole and the concept. So starting with Lakey Boyd from Innovate Birmingham.
So I think overall, everyone did a good job. The two that kind of rose to the top for me were IVR Train and Hitch, and I think largely because from my world of understanding the market piece and how can we finance a company to accelerate growth for commercial progression, I could understand who their target is and what the customer adoption would look like. But I would say generally for each company, ending on a stronger note of helping the judge understand, the financer understand what are your immediate next steps and how are you going to be executing those. Timeline, financing, customers would always be helpful to end on.
Okay. John Fuller again with Honda Manufacturing of Alabama.
I enjoyed each of the presentations. I really like the practical application of IVR training. And from a factory viewpoint, he hit on exactly what our problem is. It's training, it's retention of that knowledge, and it's also engaging our associates in that learning program. From a product side, I was most interested in the lighting, just because I see that trend in the marketplace today. I see the interior lighting as something the customers are demanding, and I love the integration of that technology with the safety systems of the car or the navigation systems of the car to give the driver some feedback.
Thanks, John. And we'll go to Inga von Seelen from Mercedes-Benz.
I also enjoyed then the very different ideas and concept we saw. Overall, one major issue or one major topic was for me the new material of the graphenics. I think there are further steps to analyze, but if it's really then finally if we get what was mentioned, and if we also then put it in a serious production, that could be a potential. So this is one thing I would really get more information, more details, also with the tests behind. Yeah, and I think workforce development in the area with the training, that will be very important. So we will see who will win. I know that already, but this will be announced shortly.
Good. Thank you, Inga. And Kim Williams from Calsonic Kansai.
Yeah, I'm with Tenneco now, but that's okay, no problem. We don't give the right shout out here. Yeah, all presenters did a great job, very interesting. Glad to know that we have so many folks who are working on things to help improve our industry. For me, manufacturing bolts in the holes and, making car parts, the IVR train concept, targeting the gaming generation, getting them interested in learning their jobs and coming up with ways to cross-train. But, again, the other concepts are, just as applicable in our industry. I think I would have liked to understand more, to Lakey's point, about the next steps for marketing, who they're targeting, what is that plan, and what type of budget do they have. Always looking at cost versus benefit from a manufacturing perspective. So very good activity, and excited hopefully to do this in the future.
A big thank you to all our judges, not only for their time today, but for taking this seriously and for the good work that they've done. We really appreciate their participation in this session. So let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. And so with that, we're at decision time, and I'll ask Ron Davis to come and join me, and we'll make the award.
So I'll receive an envelope here that tells me who the winner is. Jack? As we wait in suspense. The winner is IVR Train.
Great convention, right? So, we try to teach people your PowerPoint doesn't matter. Be ready for that to happen. So now I get to use that teaching moment of me having to go through it, right? So
yeah,
thank you all very much.
That teaching moment. Thank you. Great job. Again, you'll be seeing more of this process, and again, thank you to the judges and Steve and Jack and Lindsay and all. So thank you very much.